Welcome to episode 31 of the Silver Savage podcast. This podcast, as always, is brought to you by Masada Tactical. Please go and check masadatactical.com for information about classes, seminars, and swag. Our shop is open and ready. From its inception, Silver Savage podcast was created to provide other savages with the tools to maximize life. Many of us are parents, and balancing being a savage yet a good father or mother sometimes is at odds. So in these episodes, we decided to test some of our theories by having Isabella, BK's daughter, as our guest, to give us some insight as to how is BK doing as a dad. Not that anyone should take this podcast as any authoritative information on parental advice, but we hope that you too can pick up a nugget or two to help you be the best savage that you can, including as a parent. Here's episode 31 with Isabella. Just so you know, I asked Isabella to pour me 3 fingers. This is what I get.
It's 3 fingers.
I love it. No, so you should ask Isabella about her Christmas present.
Oh, I know what she got.
Well, I don't know. You celebrate both.
Yeah.
What do you count it as? Hanukkah?
Hanukkah present because you gave it to me.
Okay.
For the record, I'm sad my daughter's not here, but as we'll talk about, young teenage ladies sometimes have their moments and need their space.
Yeah, they do. But Isabella, what was my favorite present to you?
It was like an alcohol maker thing.
It was a bartender mixing. It's not an alcohol maker.
Well,
Yeah,
no, it's
that's
alcohol
two
you
different
make it.
things now.
No, we're
Are
not
you gonna be a
making moonshine.
bootlegger or a bartender?
It was a serving thing because she does such a good job serving. I figured she may as well start making cocktails and stuff. I figured that makes sense. All right, so Steve, you and I were chatting, and we're like, we need to really give some resources to those that listen to us, and what better than to teach them about parenthood from the two least, I guess, what's the word? Like qualified individuals to do so.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't say teach, but maybe just share our experiences.
I like it. So we were planning on both our daughters. Your daughter is not able to join us, but we have my daughter Isabella, and we're gonna go ahead.
And again, that's something we can talk about too. Why not, right? Because she was enthusiastic about being on the show. She loves Isabella. Always looked up to her when they were younger, and even still now, even though you guys never see each other. But moods change, and as warrior dads, you want to attack the problem head on. But it's one of those cases where sometimes you gotta, extract, seek cover, and
tactically retreat.
Yeah, you gotta let the situation breathe, all right, and then reassess later.
I love it. So you and I discussed some points that we're gonna ask them, but being that it's just Isabella, we're gonna go with the second approach that we discussed, where you're gonna be interviewing her.
Yes, yeah. So same questions, but first is about this show, right? Is about the daughters, right, and how you interact with psycho dads like us and dodes, uncles, because I'm still gonna embarrass you one day picking you up in school. That's on my bucket list. So before we start with the questions, tell us who Isabella is. What school you go to? Do you like school? Like hobbies? Like
How old
who's
are
this?
you? Where you born?
You want all of those?
All of it.
Okay, well, I'm 15.
Closer to the microphone, lady.
Sorry. I go to
Do it
Pikesville
now.
High.
Wait, do it now.
I do like school. I was born at Sinai Hospital. You said hobbies. I guess dance.
That is your
That's
favorite hobby.
That's my favorite hobby.
All right. I was just curious if there's any other hobbies there.
I don't have that many
All right,
hobbies.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you have any boyfriends?
No.
Good answer.
Right, hey, for the record, brother to
That was a
brother,
test.
Isabella, how many times I asked you that question in a month? Just about every time I see you, what do I ask? Do you have a
Are
boyfriend?
there any boys?
Yeah. So I got
Okay.
you covered, bro. I got
Well, I
you
appreciate it. Thank you.
covered. It's funny you ask that because I probably ask her more than you do.
That's funny. Well, I remember when she was born, you, myself, Daryl, and at the time, Cy, were like, we want to be a panel to interview any would-be boyfriend, suitors, whatever. And between us four completely off the chain because I'm trying to use the politically correct terminology. We figured nobody would ever want to date her, just because they wouldn't want to
That's
face
not
us.
true, because in retrospect, someone like us would.
Yeah, I think that's worse.
Well, I'm saying they would have like yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
I am. So,
But
so this is a question to you as a father, I guess. Would you want your daughter dating someone like you?
if he's gonna love her like I love her and protect her like I protect her, yes.
I
That's the
am
only way I
completely
can answer
silent.
that.
It
You know
is
what I'm saying?
because you
It's
also
a
know
trick
what
question, right? Because
it is a trick question.
right, because you want her to be, provided for. And I get, women are very independent these days. My sisters are prime examples of that, right? I send my sisters Father's Day cards, right? Because they molded me into the man I am. I didn't have a male figure. So women are very capable of taking care of themselves. That being said, I still want my daughter to be with a man who is willing to sacrifice, who is willing to provide for her and nurture her and love her and care for her more than I'm capable of doing, which is, it's hard. Like, I like to tell my daughter, just remember, I'm the first guy you ever kissed and the first guy you ever loved, and nothing's going to change that. And I made sure when she was born, Joy, my wife, took a picture of me kissing her so I could show her on her wedding day, I was your first kiss. No one
That's
else.
funny.
But it
I'm just
is like,
asking because you're right in the terms of the protector, and I think there's actually a question that we're about to ask that alludes to that. But we also know the oddity and what is different about us than most other parents or
right.
fathers specifically.
We don't want our daughters worrying about someone that's going to go off to war and is going out there putting themselves on the line. Although if we could find that happy medium, that'd be great. We've been able to, actually after the fact more than anything, have our families and do what we do. But I would never oppose it if she married someone in the military or something like that. But you don't want them to have to be sad and be alone when they deploy and serve their country and stuff like that. I mean, Isabella, what do you think? Let's ask you since you're here. Let's fast forward 40 years when we allow you to get married.
I said, we allow her because she knows that she can.
Well, he's gonna have to go through the approval process, right?
There is going to be a panel. It may not be Cy, Daryl, you, and I, but there's certainly going to be a panel.
Yeah. So although you're 15, Isabella, you're a young lady. I've watched you turn into the young lady that you are, and I know your dad is there too. But all of us do. We all have a vested interest in you and your life and your future, whether you like it or not, right? What do you feel? And this is based on who you're exposed to, right? You have your dad, who's a warrior. Myself. You had Cy, Daryl, and Mike, and all these people around you. What if you were to choose to get married is what you would think is a good person for you to marry?
I don't know.
That's a good answer. You should.
That's a loaded question, though.
It is. No, leave it as you don't know. You don't have to know now. Damn it.
Let's leave the boyfriend husband questions to later. So let's start going down the list of some questions we had ready and see.
Yeah, that was pretty deep. But I like your answer. You don't know. You know what? You don't have to know. Okay. You don't have to know.
I still don't know.
I don't think we'll ever know.
I'm on my 4-5. I'm trying to figure it out. I think
I
I got it down now. But
let's focus on that. Let's focus on daddy-daughter relationship, right? So your dad was former IDF, right? And I'm sure you've heard it many times. And I know we're reluctant to tell our stories. I know I still am of service, but I'm sure you've heard some. I'm sure you've seen your dad up and down. All right. So that being said, your dad is a special kind of dad, as I am to my kids. What is a memorable moment that you remember with your dad that's special to you?
It's not a trick question.
I have to think. The first time we went shooting.
First time I went shooting. That's a good one. I'll take it.
That's a good one. And I have to say, my daughter and I were supposed to go shooting. Actually, I was going to try to set it up with you, and she went to a camp this past summer where she learned marksmanship and shot the shit out of that target. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little bit that I wasn't there. So
That was pretty cool. And I'll tell you, so again, since this is all about the silver savages out there, and we do try to impart, what's the right word? I don't know, share a little bit of knowledge, and not that anybody should take any parental advice from us, but
absolutely
when it
not.
comes to when it comes to firearms, people ask us all the time, when should we start our kids on shooting? Should we start a kid? Are you not worried about safety? Of course, safety is always a concern and something we always worry, which is exactly why, in my mind at least, I try to introduce them to it as early as possible. We have
Right.
books about safety. We review it with dummy guns. Isabella used to help me clean guns when she was very young. And it was an opportunity for me to review safety rules with her. Like, she knew to check if it's unloaded, to keep your finger off the trigger, not to point it. And they all get a firearm when they turn 5. Just a 22 pistol that they know is, well, of course, it's on my name.
That. Yeah.
Right. It's on my name legally, but it is in theory theirs, and they should be the ones that get to shoot it. And Isabella she actually got a rifle first. She was the only one that got a rifle first. And then, but she had no inclination of going shooting, no interest. And I did not want to push it. I was like, I don't want it to be a thing. And it wasn't until her brother was turning of age and we were taking him shooting. And I'm like, Isabella, do you want to go also? Because you have nothing better to do right now. And she came. And then her brother, after the first time, like, it was all right. Like, Isabella, I was like, this was awesome.
Typical Annie Oakley, like my daughter.
Right.
And, and I took the same approach, and actually this I picked up more from you, dads learning from dads, right? So I did the whole buying 22s, and I told my kids, these are your rifles when you're ready to shoot them. Even my 3-year-old, when I'm checking my inventory, cleaning and whatnot, he asks which one is his, and I tell him that one when you're ready. And same thing with Eva. It was when she was ready. She got great training, so I wasn't opposed to it, and she did very well. But it was like, all right. But she has mentioned, I'd like to go again. And Hosea, my son, finally at 10 years old, he came up to me out of the blue, never pushed it, did the same thing, read the book, pass the test. Here's a BB gun, try with the BB gun. Never pushed it. And then all these years, he comes up to me, he goes, Dad, I want to go shooting. And I was like, obviously, I ran to the corner, started crying a little bit and wiped my tears. Yes. And we're going to do that. And I think it's smart to do it that way. You don't want to push it on them because then it becomes something like a burden almost. But go through the safety procedures. And like I said, I started with airsoft guns, BB guns, and now they're graduating to their 22s. And like you, I tell them, these are your guns. So when you shoot them, you're going to clean them. You're going to learn how to operate them, how to use them, etc. So that's pretty awesome.
And I think when we talk about some social issues now that we have in America, specifically when people talk about safeties and accidents and so forth, I would argue that a lot of it is because of lack of knowledge and education when it comes to it. And Isabella, this is maybe a question to you. Do you feel ever the inclination to maybe want to go behind my back and play with a gun?
No.
And that's what I was hoping to accomplish. Hoping that they know whenever they want to shoot one or touch one, all they have to do is ask.
Yeah.
And there's no issue there. So
and
hopefully
and judge me if you will, some people, but even my 3-year-old, he's competent enough to understand, never to point even his toy guns, because I never pushed it on him. It was a natural attraction for him because daddy was a police officer, etc. But I always taught him to respect the firearms. He knows not to point it in an unsafe direction, not to point it at people. He knows it's for self-protection or protection of others that are in need. And as a 3-year-old, I can leave a live firearm, obviously unloaded, on the side, and he says, Daddy, can I touch it? He will not touch it without responding to an adult. Even that basic principle of it, he knows it's off limits because I let him know ahead of time. And I said, yes, Daddy's here. This is how you hold it. This is how you touch it. And now that's ingrained in him, so he's going to continue to grow, even more safer with it. So, I know there's a lot of controversy behind firearms. I have family members that are opposed to it. And I won't say forcefully, but I train their younger kids, and they're great shooters now, and they're very safe shooters now, so that's definitely one thing. And I say a good portion of that from you, because you had kids before I had kids, and I started picking that up. Again, dads learning from dads, psycho dads learning from psycho dads. And I picked that up from you, and I've applied it, and it's worked for me. It's been great. So
Perfect.
all right, moving on forward. All right, obviously, Isabella, you don't have a normal dad. And I say normal in the sense as what we perceive as normal in society, right? We're different, as how we live our lives, how we choose to serve, protect, and do what we do. So with that in mind, what's one of the weirdest things you think your dad does?
The weirdest.
Don't look at me.
Listen,
No.
I could stay here all day talking about the weird stuff your dad does. To you, it might not be weird though, because it's normal, because it's around you all the
Yeah.
time.
What is one thing that if you told your friends, my dad does this, they'll be like, what?
I don't think she would tell her friends because they wouldn't be her friends anymore.
It's a possibility.
Be your bartender.
Asking you to be my bartender?
Yeah.
All right.
That's weird.
Yeah. To most
No.
people.
I'm glad that's where it ended.
All right.
For the record, she does not drink, she just serves.
No. I was looking, I went the wrong side. So what that being said, because man, that kind of takes away from the next question. What's the coolest thing your dad does? Dads are cool, all right. Whether you like it or not, we can be cool.
I guess still like taking a shooting.
So it just comes down to shooting. I
Yeah,
guess
it
that's
really
my
does.
only.
I know that's our contribution in life. Teaching
Pretty
our
sad.
kids
I don't know.
how to shoot the balls off a flea.
I don't know. Teaching them how to put tourniquets on.
Oh yeah,
Teach them how to ride a bike.
Teach them how to take the life and save the life. So if you have to take it again, you can. So I'm just saying.
Right. So I guess taking them shooting was it.
All right. So we got the coolest thing, the weirdest thing, which I mean, I don't think it's that weird.
I don't know. It's not like you do that much weird things. I mean, you probably do, but to me, it all seems normal.
It's a possibility.
Asking people to throw darts into your back, I would consider that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Would you like me to provide you the list? The itemized
Use your dart. Your back as a dartboard.
You got a dart in your neck. Yeah, that wasn't in the movie first. That was in BK. Yeah, you forgot about that one. What else have you forgotten about? All right. Well, if I had to pick a weird one, it'd be that one. Asking people to throw darts into your neck and back. So, although in some tribes, quote unquote, that's the norm. All right. So, we've gone through some interesting things there. What is one thing that you have not done that you'd like to do with your dad?
Go skydiving.
Oh, yes.
Darn it.
Hold on. Cry moment.
She knows it's my Achilles too.
Oh, okay. I have to wipe a tear away on that one. My kids too. Unfortunately, I think nationwide, actually, the legal age is 18. So I've looked into it because both my kids want to go skydiving. I've had some crying moments with that as well. So yes, I know that is your Achilles heel. I'm forcing you to go skydiving with me as well. Although I took that off of my retirement thing to do with you, right? I still have to do
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So I think we're gonna go back to the world's most dangerous hotel with the hopes of pirates attacking us while we're staying there.
What happened to shooting hawks from helicopters?
We can do that anytime.
All right.
In theory.
All right.
I think we're settling on the world's most dangerous hotel, being out to sea, surrounded by nothing, with the hopes of being attacked by pirates. You want to come, Isabella?
That sounds exciting. She can shoot.
Isabella's down. I don't know if my daughter will come. Actually, considering the circumstances of the morbidity of it, she'd probably say yes. If I
See, for those that don't know your daughter, they're probably listening to this and like, she's like Wednesday Addams.
I was just about to say that. I was literally about to say that. We had such a good time together. We like to pick shows, my daughter and I, that we watch together, and movies that just her and I watch. She has her time with mommy, and obviously the relationship with mommy is different with the relationship with daddy. Would you say That's accurate, Isabella?
Yes.
Okay, right?
That was
Right,
the
right.
first like
Hey,
100% affirmative.
yes. So, it's different, because like with mommy, it's very intimate. Daddy's, it's different with a daddy daughter relationship. You have boys, BK, I have boys. They're my buddies, they're my handyman, this and that. Not that my daughter doesn't do all that stuff too, but the relationship is different. And to sum it up, like this tattoo on my arm, right? The arrows on my arm, right? I have three arrows for each kid. Two arrows with blue are pointing out into the world because I'm preparing the boys to go out and conquer the world. The one arrow for my daughter is pointing towards my heart, right? Because the relationship is different, when it comes to our daughters. But yes, Wednesday, was one of the shows we watched together. And every episode I turn to her and be like, oh my God, you're Wednesday Adams. And I love it. So it's funny that you mentioned that. So she's
Isabella
real.
got
She's
upset. Sorry, Isabella got upset when I got the other boys tattooed, or the other kids tattooed on my arm because she was the only one for a while.
And the order's not right.
Well,
Because
I didn't plan on many other
know.
kids when I tattooed your name. So
gotta give them
kinda
that
shows
much.
you.
Listen, Isabel, it took me till I was 41 before I got the tattoos for my kids, the arrows and then the flowers over here. So obviously Eva has the biggest flower. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. The pink big flower, then the blue flower for Hosea, and then the little bud for the little guy. So all growing. And that just to give us kind of goes in theme with why we're doing this. If underneath the flowers in the dirt are my rusty dog tags and my past, which laid the base, the dirt, for the future, which are my kids. So it took me this long to get it right with the tattoos. Kind of like you, BK. Now you're starting to get the tattoos that define who you are and what we do and things like that. So, the tattoo could be a whole nother podcast. All right.
Yeah, we should do that in the future.
Yes. All right. So Isabella, next question. As a dad, as parents, we're not perfect. And, BK and I have these discussions off camera all the time, but this is one of the reasons why we started this podcast is to share our experiences, right? There's always something we can do better. All right. As dads, what do you think is something your dad can do better? Don't say sing because that'll never happen.
Sing?
Yeah.
Well, I sing. It's not good, but I will sing.
I mean, I sing every night to my.
Oh, something I can do better. Yes.
Whether it's maybe.
Because I'm taking notes. What is something that you would like me to do better for our
This
relationship?
is your time.
Not just in life. Like, how can I be a better father to you? Do you need more hugs, more walks?
Always more hugs and more walks.
Oh,
right.
that's
We
better.
have to start doing our
Hold on. I gotta cry again. Okay, wipe the tear.
Isabella and I used to, when the weather was nicer, because my Israeli behind doesn't go out when it drops below 50. We walk around the neighborhood, just the two of us at night after the boys go to sleep and to chat.
I might do that with my daughter. I like that. I used to tell Eva one of the things I loved was holding her hand. I love holding her hand and just walking when she was smaller. And obviously, as she's gotten older, it's like, don't touch me, get away from me, blah, blah, blah. You're embarrassing me kind of thing. Maybe I'll try that. Nighttime walks. She is a Wednesday Adams. She might like it when it's dark outside.
It's about 10 minutes, and honestly, it was very fulfilling.
All right. Well,
I got more. What?
You take note, more walks.
I got it. All right. Mental notes.
Mental notes. our mind is not that great, so I wouldn't take mental notes. All right. So aside from what he can do better, which you said, more walks and talks and stuff like that, which I think is phenomenal. I need to do that with my daughter as well. What is something that he does that's pretty awesome?
I don't know.
You can't say take you shooting. Oh, that's a good answer. I like that.
What?
Everything I do is awesome.
Everything
that was an unsolicited answer.
That's pretty good. Everything is awesome. I mean, Okay, we'll accept it. Everything he does is awesome. Well, I can't argue that. Knowing BK for over 15 years now, one of the longest relationships I've ever had.
I've
Um,
known you guys the same length of time. You and Isabella.
yes. So
You
I
both came into my life at the same time.
I would say that aside from being a dedicated quote unquote, when I say soldier, brother, our tribe, how we operate, one thing I know you to be is a dedicated father. You're always striving to be a better dad. Even when you mess up, you're always trying to do right. Right. But that's the mentality of who we are, right? The mission. Right? Our mission changes from actual combat. Now we're dads. Now our mission is our children, right? Seeing them succeed, providing for them, and getting to that end goal. So that's one thing I've always seen you do. So I will accept the answer of awesome. Everything he does is awesome because I've seen him sulk. I've seen him, man, did I do something right? And obviously he did, but we're going to be self-critical when it comes to that because we love our children and we want to do right by them. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've raised my voice and I've had to ask for an apology minutes after for my children because I don't want my kids to fear me. You know, even at this time when they're getting a little more resistive, you know, especially my 13-year-old. And they'll say, I'm not scared of you. I'm like, that's great. I don't want you to be afraid of me. You know, I want you to love and
But I
respect.
gotta do what I told to do, or you're gonna get spanked.
Yeah. Well, the 3-year-old, I want him to fear me right now because he's a little psycho, but that's another story.
Let's talk about spanking. Have you ever hate your kids?
I have never had to. I may have spanked Hosea once or twice and never again on the hiney. And it was nothing hard. I think it was more psychological than anything else. My daughter never, my 3-year-old never. Him, it was like a quick spanking twice. Like I said, it wasn't even hard. It was one of those things like more psychological. The fact that I would do it, I think hurt him more. And as soon as I did it, I picked him up, hugged him, and said, I'll never do that again. Um, Not that I don't believe in discipline. I do think there is a safe way to physically discipline, but I don't think it's always necessary. You know, I got
I
to the
agree.
point. I got to the point where just a verbal, you know, I don't even want to call it a threat. It's, you know, we spoke about this, we set the rules, you broke the rules, there has to be a consequence. And there's always a consequence that's going to hurt them more than a physical contact. You know, you just have to find what that is. And I've been able to communicate with my children clearly and find what that is to where it's more about, okay, you broke the contract, quote unquote, now you have a price to pay. And that's worked well. Like for my 10-year-old who's a techie, you know, he loves his Xbox, he loves his computer, he loves coding, and I take that away for a day and he's ready to, you know, take out the trash, mow the lawn, and change the siding on the side of the house for me. You know, so there's always a way. And
I
and
know.
and and it's a healthy balance, right? Because they have to respect, they have to learn. They're still in that development phase. You know, they can't make decisions for themselves. And at the same time, you know, you don't want to be like, you know, you can't, like for me, it's always a matter of protecting those who can't protect themselves, right? And being able to protect yourselves. You know, we don't hit, we don't do this, but I can't say don't hit and then hit them, you know, and stuff like that. So
I would say that was my one biggest, in my mind, failure as a father. One of my son was hitting the other son, and I went and smacked him on the hand as I was saying, "We do not hit." And I caught myself doing that, and I'm like, "That was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life." And
yeah,
I've never hit him. I never
yeah.
hit him before, never hit him since.
For the record, my mom wielded a lethal weapon of destruction to discipline us, the chancleta or the sandal, right? You
Nice.
know, I might do a review on some, you know, chancletas in the future and how they can be used as weapons. But that was a culture, you know, in Puerto Rico, how, you know, you kneel on rice and broomsticks and stuff like that. That was the
I got the
norm.
belt.
Yeah, I got belts. You know, if I try to run and hide under the bed, I got poked with a broom under the bed. But
Nice.
at the same time, I think learning from that, I did not want to do that as well, and I learned to work around it. So, and again, I'm not opposed to spank. Some kids needs a spanking on their ass. You know, sometimes they need it. You know, they need a good.
You know what? I oftentimes think it of other people's kids. Like if I'm out and some kid is completely misbehaving, I'm like, that kid needs a spanking. I'll
Right.
never do it to my own kids, but I'll spank somebody else's kid.
And I'll, you know, not to change the subject, Isabella, because this is kind of about you, this podcast, and your relationship with your dad. But one thing that used to drive me nuts as a police officer was getting called out for kids acting up, and I was that type of cop. And I thank you for reminding me that I'm retired and I can say whatever the hell I want now. That I looked that kid right in the face, and I looked that parent right in the face and say, you need to beat his ass. It's that simple. They're beyond compromise. They need an ass whooping, period.
I'll
And
see you tomorrow.
sometimes you do, it's just that simple.
It's amazing when cops get called for stuff like that. I'm like, no,
It's
educating your child is not part of my job.
It's insane. It's just being, as parents, we want to be providers, right? We want to take care of our families, right? But we can't be enablers as well. We cannot. My kids take out the trash. You know what I mean? They clean up after dinner. They wipe the tables down. They sweep the floors. They understand, right, that they have to contribute to the totality of our existence in this home. They're not just going to be able to sit in front of the TV and this and that. That sugar honey iced tea is not happening on my watch.
Sugar honey iced tea?
Shit.
No.
Oh my God. You just did a bad thing.
I just learned a new thing. I am so much smarter now.
Whenever you don't want to say Isabella, I could say it in front of. I forget. But yes, whenever you don't want to say shit in front of someone, you say sugar honey iced tea.
What do you say for fuck?
Oh, Jesus.
You did not say Jesus for fuck.
Well, let's move one up. We'll work on it. Anyway, moving forward. All right. So I've gotten crap about this from everyone in my household. My neighbors don't complain, oddly enough. How do you feel about your dad wearing silkies all the time?
In the house or when he goes out in public?
It doesn't matter. I wear them everywhere, anytime. I wear them to swim. I wear them to sleep. I wear them to walk around the house, to mow the lawn, to fix the house. I always have silkies on. All right. They're woven from fabrics of heaven. All right. From heaven. So, question, how do you feel about your dad?
When like we're home, I don't care. It's when we go to like get groceries and he's still wearing them, then it bothers me a little.
But why? One,
yes.
your dad's got good legs.
I will say, Steve, that my first mission as a parent is to protect my child. My second mission as a parent is to embarrass my child in public if I can.
Yes.
He would tell me my shorts are too short and then wear those.
I am all about double standards.
Absolutely. Yep. You cannot wear silkies. Period.
No.
Although I think who was it? I think it was my daughter. Yes, I think I told you the story where she blew my mind about the silkies, right?
Oh yes.
Where she said God wore silkies.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's the verse out of Revelations. Now Revelations isn't in the Jewish Bible, right?
No, it's your updated version. It's a 2.0 version.
Yeah, it's the 2.0, the modified version. So there's a verse in there where they're talking about God coming back and he's wearing a cloak dipped in blood, or red in blood, blah, blah, blah. And on his leg is tattooed King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So my daughter goes, well, if you can read the tattoo, he must have been wearing silky so you could see it. And it was just at that moment where it was like, boom. And that's when I knew silkies were made by angels and came from heaven.
We should make a pair of silkies for sale that says, something along those lines. We'll work on it.
I said this. It should say King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Because that could be whatever king you want it to be. Whatever Lord you want it to be.
So you don't like being silkies in public. So you know what? For our next dance recital, can you, me, Mike, everybody we know go in silkies?
Yes. Please.
You're not invited.
Wear silkies with a button-down shirt and a tie.
Because you want to be classy. It is a recital.
Yes. And combat boots.
What do you think about Steve's suit for a wedding?
That was cool.
What was the suit? Let the listeners know what my suit was.
So for those that obviously, I'm going to see if I can add a picture. It keeps popping as my memory. I love that picture of you, Tyler, and I. But Steve wore 3-piece suit that was black multicam, and it was unbelievable.
custom made just for your wedding. I'm like, I'm never gonna wear this again, but I will happily spend the money on this suit for this occasion. Can't marry warriors without being a warrior officiant yourself. So
And since we have the wedding already and Isabella was there, what do you think of the haka the next day?
That was interesting. It was a little weird, but I liked it.
yeah, a little weird. I guess it would be weird for people who are not accustomed to hakas.
And not only that, we were all in silkies.
This is true. You don't typically hakas in Maryland, right?
Your
wedding was probably one of the most stressful things. Not even deploying to my first combat mission or anything like that. You know, being on SWAT for 7 years and you know, being a part of all these operations, that didn't bother me. I was so nervous and stressed out at your wedding. I'm like, here I am. You trusted me, your brother, to marry you and your bride. I had to learn Hebrew, you know, for the phrases, you know, to finalize the wedding, and learn Maori and put a haka together for your reception. But it came together nicely, and I never had more fun in my life. One of the best weddings I ever attended. Sorry, my sisters, but I have to say it was.
I'll tell you what's one of my biggest regrets or disappointments, I guess. I didn't realize at the time, obviously, because it was late in the evening and so forth. But the night of the wedding, because our wedding was 2-day event, right? We had the ceremony with close family the first night, and then the party, the reception, the next day. But the first night, I got a dance with Isabella. It was late in the evening, and somebody played a song and asked Isabella to dance with me, and just holding Isabella and dancing with her, and nobody got a picture of it.
Yeah. I have a picture.
You have a picture of us dancing? I was so, I'm so glad we're doing this podcast. How do you have a picture of it? I want a copy of that.
Yeah, that's a picture you need to have somewhere in your tag vest or your visor.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I'm happy now.
I was of my kids. Cry moment. All right, there you go. We don't cry. We expel weakness. But I like my bookmark is a picture of my daughter that my wife she made me a bookmark with Eva's picture and stuff like that. So every time I read, I always see her face and stuff like that. And again, it's nothing against my boys or your boys. It's just a different relationship. You know, I can't explain it. I know, like for you, your first child, your daughter, same like me, and you fall in love with these little girls. And then like your other babies come along. I know I questioned it. I'm like, how the hell am I going to love another baby as much as I love this one? But it just kind of happens, right? It's just a different relationship, you know. With
I tell them all the time that Isabella's my favorite.
Well, I mean, you know, maybe I should be upfront about that myself. Daddy's my favorite.
Well, but the reason I tell them that is my boys don't like hummus, and Isabella does. So that was really the
boys not like hummus.
I know it's a problem. It's a problem.
Isn't that like an oxymoron? Like that's like a contradiction of existence.
Yeah, they're finally liking steak, so we're halfway there. Now I got to work on the hummus because for a while it was against my Argentine. Yeah, they were going against my Argentinian and Israeli roots, and that was a major issue.
That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Thankfully, my very Caucasian-looking kids like Hispanic food, so we're good.
Nice.
All right. So Isabella, knowing your dad, you know, we've talked about him, things that you know you like, don't like, blah blah blah. You can do better. Now, when it comes down to it, right? Heaven forbid, you know, something happens. The protector in him has to take effect, right? You know, I think it's safe to say, because I know I've said it for my family and people that I love, I would start World War III for the people that I love and care for. All right. I don't care what the ancillary consequences are. I am going to destroy the world for my family. All right. I know your dad is the same way. Right, when it comes to protecting his family and those that he loves and cares for and provides for. How does that make you feel?
Safe.
Hey, that's a very simple.
She doesn't speak too much.
I really don't.
Yeah. You know, but this is women, right? Like, you know, we have to really get our point across. Women, boom, done.
Yeah. You know what? And it's funny because typically it's the other way around. But let me ask you this. So, Isabella, I think what Steve is getting at is, I appreciate you thinking it's safe because that's ultimately the goal and what we're trying to accomplish. But is it a disturbing element to it as well, or is it just it's all good? Are you
All good.
okay? Perfect. Okay, carry on.
So it doesn't matter that he'll burn down the world for you, right?
No.
And survey says she is your daughter. There is no doubt about that. All right. Well, just remember I'm on your side, and I'd probably be standing by his side, helping refuel the blowtorch to burn down the world. So, which is a fact. So, I'll be adding fuel to the tank. So that being said, is there anything else you'd like to add about your dad?
I don't think so.
Nothing.
We're gonna have to do this podcast again. I don't know, like 10 years, and see if any answers changed.
5 years, because in 5 years should be 20.
Yeah, but I figure like in 10 years, in 5 years, she's still not dating. In 10 years, we may let her start dating. I don't know. So maybe some of the answers will change.
We're gonna have to go higher. If we're talking about dating, it's gonna be even more. It's gonna be even more. Poor guy.
Well, I will say so. First of all, Isabella, thank you for honestly answering the questions, even if it was one-word answers. But I feel vindicated in a way, because for our listeners that don't know, Isabella is my first daughter, my oldest, and she's also I've been sharing custody with her since she was born, pretty much. So it was always a challenge as a father to find the middle ground, or the sweet spot in which I can show her how much I love her enough in the limited amount of time I have with her, but still be the father I thought I should be, from a protector standpoint, a disciplinary figure, and so forth. And it's a hard line to tote and not trip too much one way or the other way. So when I say I feel vindicated, I feel that I didn't screw up too bad. And
yeah, it's always a fear, right? Like that was always my fear. Like, how am I going to be a good dad? How am I going to be a good husband? I'm not perfect in any way. All I knew was death and destruction. In my path and walk of life. And how do you articulate that into love, nurturing, and care? And there's many like us out there that think and go through the same thing. So.
So specifically knowing our audience, right? And they're, for the most part, obviously not everybody, but for the most part, they're people that come from our world, right? First responders, military, warriors at heart. I assume some of them struggle with the same decisions. How do I prepare my kids for a harsh world? Because that's what it is.
And we get exposed to it a lot more, right? Than the average.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to school, we didn't have to deal with half the crowd that they do now. And so how do we prepare them for that? How do we shelter them from some of it, if that's the right approach? How do we do it without scaring them? So that was always hard, specifically for people like us. I mean, a lot of people go about life, a lot of other men in our age, they don't know. When you say that we're not the typical fathers, I mean, we don't have a 9-to-5 job. We carry scars to tell of battles, emotional and physical, that a lot of men do not have. And that affects the way we view the world and how we transfer that view and that knowledge to our kids. And how do we use that to our advantage and not to our detriment?
Yep. And I think that's going to be a whole nother podcast right there. Because I know I'm of the kind that I like to tell my kids straight up, how it is. I don't like to fluff it. And that might not always be the good thing, but I've never been a fan of, oh, you're going to the doctor, they're going to give you a shot and it's not going to hurt. No, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a couple seconds, right? And you're more than welcome to scream and cry. It's okay. I never liked that as a kid. So I'm a little more open with my kids, and sometimes too open, but I'm okay with that. And sometimes that conflicts with my wife, so that might be a whole another podcast, especially with the scars. I know you, like, there's certain movies where I've watched and I've just broken down, I couldn't hold it back. And my kids are looking at me and I'm like, Daddy's okay. It's just certain things bother me, and I've had to explain that to them. It's okay to see daddy cry. It's okay to cry, but again, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down.
I think Isabella said to me pretty recently that you've only seen me cry once, right? And that was when
Scott Wilcox died.
Yeah.
When we lost a brother.
Yeah. I saved the last drop for him.
No, but I had a thought in my mind, and it went away with this. But you're 100% correct. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we view differently that we need to be careful about how we address it with our kids, right?
Absolutely. All right, so
we did okay.
All right,
both our daughters. Sorry, let me just finish with this before you finish, because I know your daughter. I don't see her as much as I would like to, but I know your daughter, and Isabella. And as an outsider looking in, we didn't fuck it up too bad. They're smart, they're beautiful, they're strong emotionally and physically, and they know right and wrong. And ultimately, I think that's what we as parents can hope for.
Amen to that. And we'll close it with this. I was sitting on the couch with my daughter one day and looking at her and how she's grown into a young lady. And I got a little teary-eyed, and she looked at me. She's like, what's wrong, Dad? And I said, I'm just looking at you, and my heart breaks if some man ever hurts you. All right, because God help me, I'm going to do some really, really, really bad things to him. And I'm actually telling her this. And she goes, you don't have to worry about that, Dad. And I think I told you this, BK. And I'm like, why not? She goes, because I'm going to do it to him first. And I'm like, yes, I'm doing something right. So
I remember what I wanted to say. So to that point, and that kind of ties up, talking about being honest with our kids, right? Also, maybe 6 months ago, I don't want to say an argument, but a disagreement with Isabella's mother. And I went to Isabella and I'm like, Isabella, you sit down. I want to talk to you. And she was all timid. I'm like, are you worried? And she goes, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like, because she expected confrontation. I'm like, I just want honesty. And it was me being honest to her. I didn't expect anything from her, right? It was just me. This is what's going on. This is my answer. This is why I do what I do. This is my feelings, and be completely honest with her. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. So, but again, I think we're going to have a whole nother podcast just on that without the daughters.
Without
it would require way more bourbon and whiskey. But for the fun, like I like to do, I like little trivia challenges at the end. So, Isabella,
are you finish every podcast? Hold on, I'm explaining to Isabella the context. We finish every podcast with a few trivia questions to the guests about something they're good at.
Oh, okay.
But this one's more directed towards your dad, right? Because we're talking about warrior dads. So, topic here is Disney princesses. Now, Isabella, are you familiar with Disney princesses?
I am very familiar with Disney princesses.
All right, so you can't help them though. All right, so I'm gonna.
What happened to phone a friend or a lifeline?
No. I'm gonna describe the princess, and you're gonna have to name that princess. And every time you get it wrong, all right, you owe Isabella something, and she gets to pick something.
We're gonna take ice skating anyway.
Oh, okay. Well,
it could be, a little date night, something, time between you. But that's I owe you for Isabella.
Okay.
First one's an easy one. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. All right. She was taken care of by a troop of dwarves.
Snow White.
All right, Snow White.
I like how you call that a troop, because you're the only one that would call it a troop.
A troop of dwarves. All right, a battalion, a squad of dwarves. All right.
Squad.
And do we remember why Snow White is not good at soccer? No, that's not Snow White. That's Cinderella. Why isn't Cinderella good at soccer?
Because she always runs away from the ball. There
you go.
Nice.
She always runs away from the ball. All right, next one. This Disney character princess was based out of Hawaii and Peloponnesia and how the islands came
Moana.
about. Oh, you got it. Yeah, Princess Moana. Yeah, you got it.
And I only know it because of The Rock, because of Maui.
All right.
You're welcome.
Next one. Oh, how do I word this one? Her confidant or person who consoled her and talked to her was a lobster.
Oh, isn't that Ariel?
Hey, oh man, you're doing good. Yeah.
I like Ariel because she's a redhead and she always wears bikinis.
All right.
See, even Isabella knew she's my favorite.
Man, you're 3 for 3. All right, I got
actually recently I got another favorite.
Who's that?
She's also a redhead, but she's Irish and she's really good with a bow.
Oh, that was my next question. So good.
I can't pronounce her name correctly though.
But do you know the movie?
Merida, because I will always ask mierda, and that's not right.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, so what was the name of the movie?
Brave.
Okay. Warrior Dad, you got 3 out of 3. Yeah, you up on the Disney princesses.
Right. I'll still take Isabella on a father-daughter date.
That was impressive, I have to say. Good job.
All righty. Well, Steve, thank you for interviewing us, and more importantly, Isabella, thank you for taking an hour off for studying. She has an exam tomorrow, and she took an hour off so she can be here with us from studying. So thank you. Hopefully, it wasn't too upsetting. And thank you for being so verbal and using so many words and answering questions.
Yes. Well, I love you guys, and until the next one.
Later. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this latest episode. Please go ahead, like our podcast, and subscribe. Check out our YouTube channel and follow us on our other social media channels.